What's up guys, it's Ryantium here, and today we are back in Stellaris Console Edition taking a look at the Axion Stellar Sentience. Now the Axion Stellar Sentience is a driven assimilator rapid replicator machine intelligence that I've made here on Stellaris Console Edition, and that's what we're going to be taking a look at today, the driven assimilator machine intelligence. Now when it comes to being a driven assimilator, we've looked at the determined exterminator and have yet to look at the rogue servitor. But what we've seen with the determined exterminator is that with the exterminators, you have a very violent and aggressive way of playing. You exterminate all life and you are rewarded with that with massive amounts of energy, as well as, just a lot of planets. Being able to spread to every single planet that you either invade or you colonize through normal means. It's a very aggressive playstyle and one that rewards you by completely buffing your empire incredibly with all of that. But with a driven assimilator, it's a little bit different. Now the driven assimilators, you can think about the Borg from Star Trek. Now I referenced that, but I'm not a Star Trek fan, so I can't go too far into whether or not they are exactly like them or kind of like them. But let's put it in layman's terms. The driven assimilator starts with a cyborg subspecies, which you can customize as well as your traits within your cyborg species. So they start off as cybernetic on your planet, and you actually start with 10 of them, which is a really great start because more pops equals more resources. Plus the cybernetic cyborgs, they give you a plus 20% habitability, plus 10% army damage, and they can be leaders that last for 40 years longer. Now, if you think about it, that is very powerful because not only are you getting the very adaptive trait for free, you're getting army damage plus for free, and you're getting one that's in between enduring and venerable as an organic civilization or as an organic species right in the middle of it. You're getting like 3 traits all wrapped into one, which is the cybernetic one. Then you can add things on top of that, which is really, really cool. So obviously you'd want rapid breeders because as a driven assimilator, your cyborg species will grow automatically 40% slower, and that is the name of the game as a driven assimilator. When you invade a planet, instead of exterminating them, you turn them into cyborgs. And the cyborgs are great because even though they eat food, which is why it's important to keep your food up in this empire, they do not consume consumer goods, and they do not require consumer goods. So a driven assimilator machine empire is basically an organic empire without consumer goods. It's kind of nice. But what's nice is you're growing pops as well as assembling pops from the very beginning of the game. Because you grow your cyborgs, you assemble your regular machines. So it's practically double the pop growth, and I believe that's why the cyborgs grow an additional 40% slower as to kind of balance things out so that it's not rapid explosive growth on every single planet. Now keep in mind, non-assimilating organic pops are automatically purged over time. You can choose to either assimilate or purge the pops that you invade. Now what's really cool about the driven assimilators is that they have the assimilation casus belli, or the reason to go to war. What that means is when you declare war on an empire to assimilate them, you have free reign over what you do, meaning when you destroy a starbase, that system becomes yours. When you destroy a starbase and take over a planet, that planet and system automatically become yours. There's no waiting until the war is over to divvy out systems and planets and everything like that, no. To the same way as the determined exterminators, as well as if you were a fanatical purifier or something like that, when you take something in war, you get it. But keep in mind, with a driven assimilator the same as a determined exterminator, if you are to surrender by accident or you get beaten, it will wipe your empire off the planet, or off the map rather. Because every single other empire's casus belli against you is to end the threat, and that could be a little bit unfortunate. Now keep in mind, you do indeed have decreased opinion from other empires because, well, if there's a free empire out there, they don't want to become cyborgs, and you decide to go to war with them, they're really not going to like that very much. And if you're bordering them, they're really not going to like you all that much. So it's important to remember that you won't necessarily be very friendly with anybody in the galaxy. You won't be determined exterminator unfriendly, but you certainly won't be, like xenophile friendly with them either. And last but not least, I waited until the end of this description of the driven assimilator to tell you that whenever you're assimilating organic pops, you do generate a small amount of unity in society research. Now, it's nothing that I've seen as a massive impact to my Unity and Society research. In fact, I find it's easier to get Unity by creating Unity-producing buildings on my planets, because as a machine intelligence, you yourself can spread to those worlds without worry of habitability. But when it comes to colonizing with your cyborg species, it's very important to keep an eye on their habitability. Which is why there's a very cool way to play a driven assimilator when you get into the mid to late game. It's definitely something people probably don't think about, or it might be, and I'm just a little bit behind the curve. But when you're playing a driven assimilator and you have access to turn all of your worlds into Gaia worlds, that means your machines and your cyborgs will be able to grow alongside your machines on every single world. If you turn all of your worlds into Gaia worlds, that's 100% habitability for everything. Meaning if you turn on migration, your cyborgs will then begin to migrate from planet to planet, filling out each and every single one of these planets, and then growing alongside the assembly of your machine intelligence. It is a massive way and an incredible way to boost your population growth when it comes to the mid and late game. Right when you're starting to ramp up your science, your alloys, your ship production, everything like that. You need more raw resources on this world, start migration to there when it's turned into a Gaia world. It's a great and powerful way to do that, because then more pops equals more resources. Now, I have a little bit of footage that I want to share with you from my current playthrough of the Axion Stellar Sentience, or the ASS for short. And this is what you're looking at right now. Now, it's not the same as when I did it with the Determined Exterminator, but what I'll do now is I'll go into the current save and I'll show you a little bit about what it looks like in the year 2300. So here we are in the year 2304 with the Axion Stellar Sentience, and you can see that the galaxy is still quite populated by the year 2304. We've only assimilated 2 or 3 empires in our whole entire time being here. In fact, if we go ahead and take a look at our species, you can see that we have 600 of our Axions, which is the main machine intelligence. We have 109 of our original synthetic, or our original cyborg species. Then we've got these guys right here, and then we've got these ones right here, which are currently in the process of still being assimilated from the last empire that we decided to go to war with. And then we've got a few people right here, as well as these ones down here. Now these ones, this is from one of the bigger empires that we went ahead and assimilated, and you can tell we've got 216 of them. And then this was a pre-sentient species that we had that we brought up and turned into cyborgs. And then this is a couple of the other ones that we've had that were within the empires that we're currently at war with, or were at war with. So this whole section right here was an empire of its own, and this whole section right here will be mine when the empire is fallen and when we finally have finished the war. Now they don't have as many planets. In fact, that's actually why I targeted them. They only had like 5 planets. But when it comes to playing a driven assimilator, it's very different from the Determined Exterminator in that if you try to go to war too early, you can really cripple your economy if you've not expanded correctly, if you don't have enough colonies under your belt. Right now we've got 24 colonies, and you can see there's already a whole bunch of unemployment problems, and that's because the last time I saved, I didn't really do any micromanagement before that. But it's very, very, very important to keep an eye on your economy, because as you begin to scale your economy and ramp up your economy in the early game, if you try and go to war and assimilate people too early, it can really bite you in the ass, because you won't be sufficiently working on your raw resource extraction or your alloy production or your research. So your research will slow down. There's a whole lot of things to keep in mind when it comes to that. And we are very powerful by the year 2304. All of the other empires, besides the frickin' what are they? The fallen empires. They're pathetic to us. Now keep in mind we're slowly getting closer to these ones because we are very, very, very powerful. But everybody else is pathetic to us. As far as fleet power, and I believe this isn't on Grand Admiral, but it is on, I think, the 3rd hardest difficulty. I think that's Captain, if I'm not mistaken. And this is Iron Man mode, so there's no save. There's nothing going on with saving and anything like that. But To play a driven assimilator, it's less aggressive than a determined exterminator, but once you get to the point where everyone around you will be pathetic, that's when you strike. And that's exactly what's happening now. You can tell with our military fleets, we've got a 46K, 16, 31, and 37, but those are not at max strength because, well, they're currently at war. We have more ships that we can create here. We need 9 more ships, and then our total fleets will be good to go. Now, it's important to keep an eye on the amount of territory that you grab because, as always, you have your Empire Sprawl to worry about. And, you can't really stay under your Empire Sprawl, even when you have access to the repeatable text, as I've been repeating over and over and over again. So when it comes to playing a driven assimilator, aggressive is the name of the game when it comes to the middle and late game. Trying to be very aggressive in the beginning, like a determined exterminator, can really bite you in the butt because you don't have the same bonuses as the determined exterminator to your ships or to your expansion. So it's very important to keep an eye on that and to make sure that your economy can support a war of assimilation. So that's pretty much what you need to know about being a driven assimilator. It's a very different playstyle from the very hyper-aggressive determined exterminator, but it can still be aggressive. It's just not with the same goals in mind. Instead of wiping out life, you're instead expanding your own empire's influence and amount of pops within your empire by assimilating everybody into your own collective. We'll break down rogue servitors here in the future, but I need to get a game going. That way I myself can, tell you about them, because they're not one that I'm very familiar with, and I'm curious to see how powerful they can be. Now, a lot of the times I've seen a lot of questions about how do you get so powerful so quickly. It's the beginning of the game. The start of the game, probably the first 50 years, determines what goes on in the next 150 years. Sometimes if you get a very lucky start, you can get very powerful very quickly. But if you get an unlucky start, you're going to be handicapped a lot, and it's going to be a lot harder to get going. So I hope this helps some of you who are wanting to do driven assimilator run-throughs and playthroughs and everything like that. It's a lot of fun to play as an assimilator, especially when you get powerful enough to start invading planets and taking over planets and mass assimilating hundreds and thousands of pops. This is a great way to expand your knowledge of the district system because it takes a lot of micromanagement, and there's a lot to offer playing as a driven assimilator. So guys, if you have any questions down, please put them down there in the comment section. I'll try my best to answer them. And if you're looking for any more Stellaris Console Edition content, you can always stay here on the channel, grab a sub, drop a like if you will. And if you're looking for anybody else who does Stellaris content, you can always check in the description. There's some marvelous channels down there for you to take a look at, based around PC, Xbox, and PS4. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.